Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Today is Sunday, November 20th. I'm recording on a Sunday. Excuse me, so it's early. It's like 7 o'clock. You know, it's me, so I'm always recording at like 7 a.m. I didn't want to record on Monday because tomorrow is my birthday, and I was like, no, I'll just give myself that morning to like knit or spin or do whatever I want before work. And today I will record, and so I finished up a spin last night so that I could show you guys, which was exciting. I meant to let my singles rest this time. Spinners sometimes let their singles rest like at least 24 hours. I know this. I'm aware of this. Sometimes I don't do it because I'm not that good yet. And I was having this conversation with my friend Monica yesterday, and she said, well, I said that I was like, you know, I'm not really that attentive to detail. I prefer, especially my job, I work with people. I don't work with details. I mean, I have to work with some details, but like in my office, of the four of us, I'm like the one who knows the least about all the details. I mean, that's because I've been working there the least amount of time. I've been working there 1 year, almost exactly. So I'm a little froggy this morning, but I'm very good with, you know, people and personal connections, which is why I do the job that I do, where I talk to a lot of students about how our, you know, need to succeed in making plans and goals and all sorts of stuff. The reason that I'm so hoarse is because I'm taking my allergy pills in the morning. It's just a schedule that I got onto by accident due to being sick and taking antihistamines at night, you know, which is like NyQuil, you take an antihistamine at night. Which then means stupid. I should just continue to take them when I'm sick. And my mouth just gets extra dry because I take the extra one at night. But anyway, yeah, like 2 weeks ago, I ended up taking an antihistamine in the middle of the day because I was having a coughing fit while I was spinning because the animal, you know, dandruff was coming off of the wool. And I like freaked out, went to my room because I was in the middle of when I had RSV. And so I was like, oh no, I'm getting my roommate sick. Even though with my mask on, I was like, let me just go to my room. And then I continued to cough, and I was like, this is not RSV cough. This is just like weird. And this is like sudden and weird and crazy. And so I went to the bathroom and I took, Loratadine, which is a Claritin. I have Costco brand, which is $10 for like the entire year's supply. So Costco membership's worth it just for that. As somebody once commented, so if you are watching, thank you. I agree. And then like it went away, like right away. So I woke up. It's been like I've been pushing it earlier and earlier because yesterday Jordan and I got up and we went on a hike, like a 6-mile hike in the morning with one of her friends and his partner. And we went early, like we left here at like 7:30. And so I got up at 6:30 and I took this Loratadine. And so when you get to the 24-hour mark, you start to get really sniffly. That's pretty normal. So I woke up and like immediately was like, oh my gosh, I'm very congested. So I have now taken my antihistamine, and hopefully my voice will get less hoarse over the course of this episode as a result. But anyway, the hike was great. It was very cold. It's nice and chilly here now. Although when we got to the hike, it was like 29 degrees. And when we were done, it was like 40, 45. So we were all like peeling off layers. And yeah, Jordan and I always get bagels before we go hiking, which is fun. Although I'm not that disappointed in our bagel shop in the neighborhood, but it's like, I don't know. I worked in a bagel shop that was really good for a while, and it's just not as good. This is my Starbucks Maryland mug that Nitin got me last year for my birthday, which is coming up tomorrow. And he loves the Starbucks Place mugs. So I used to keep this in my office, but I like it. It's big. It's like a big coffee mug, so I keep it at home. Nitin and I went out for dinner last night because my birthday's coming up, and he was like, let's go for dinner. So we went for dinner at this really cool place that my friend Dan used to work at, where my friend Dan used to work. called Wet City in Baltimore, which is very cool. And we saw Dan there, but even though he doesn't work there anymore, he just showed up with his girlfriend and we were like, hey. And he was like, here, I got you a present for your birthday. And I was like, oh, thanks. And it's like a bunch of like olive oils from like a tree that he adopted for me. And I was like, that's very cool. That's a very useful present because I cook a lot. So I love olive oil. Can't use that fancy olive oil all the time. You have to use the Costco olive oil. I use Costco extra virgin olive oil and it's amazing and it's like not very expensive to get like a gallon. My mom decants it. She decants it into like nice, I want like a, you know, like a glass bottle, but it has like the top that you would see at like a bar that they have on the top of like liquor bottles that you just pour it. That's what I want for my olive oil. My mom has one of those. So I need to get one, like a wine decanter. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so that's exciting. I need to find some things that require fancy olive oil, like a drizzle or like, I'll put fancy olive oil in salad dressing. Jordan got this really fancy bottle of olive oil for Christmas last year from her boss, and we use it for salad dressing. So that's what we'll use it for, probably. Or like, you know, Italian drizzle, stuff like that. Like bread, you can dip bread in it. Speaking of, I have to feed my sourdough starter, Francine. I'm stalling because I don't have that much to show this week. I have some stuff. I've been working on a bunch of stuff. But anyway, this is my Hilda jumper. And Hilda, if you've never seen me before or you missed the episodes about Hilda, this jumper is derived from a big open coat from the Vintage Shetland Project by Susan Crawford, which is a fantastic book. Lots of essays, lots of patterns, beautiful pictures. It's really nice. So Hilda, excuse me, is this beautiful, like open kind of oversized cardigan, looks like a coat. And it's all done in natural colors. And I really loved it. But I said, I just made a kind of V-neck, you know, cardigan, Shetland with bands, Shetland sweater with the banded design. So I'm not gonna make another one just like that, but I would like a crew neck jumper that's a little bit roomy and really kind of just like very 1980s. So I decided to just convert the pattern into a crew neck jumper because I had made a crew neck jumper before and I knew what I was doing. And again, when I started like my Fair Isle kind of journey about 2.5 years ago and started like collecting Shetland wool, this is Shetland wool. This is all Jamieson & Smith Jumper Weight Supreme. And then the red is 2-ply jumper weight because I just wanted a pop of color in there. And Jumper Weight Supreme is all natural colors, undyed. So I just got 2-ply jumper weight in the red to offset that. And I really wanted to like learn how to do it myself, basically, when I started kind of reading about Fair Isle stuff and collecting all this yarn. And what I wanted to do was learn how to kind of like do neck shaping. And that was the absolute proudest thing I am about this jumper for me. Like that I did the crew neck properly and it looks like a normal neck and it fits properly. It sits the way I want and I steeked it. This is a steeked jumper in 1, 2, 3 places. If you have a cardigan, there would be a 4th steek down the middle. Sometimes people actually do sleeve shaping and they make a steek on their sleeve cap as well. I've never done that, but I've considered knitting Marie Wallen's patterns in the round. I've done it once. I made a lapwing, which is just a plain, it's a drop sleeve piece. And I did lapwing in pieces, but I did them all in the round and then I set the sleeves into the body. This one I picked up, and this one I actually had a whole mess with because the sleeves were way too big at first because I didn't decrease fast enough. So I had to re-knit the first sleeve entirely, which took a long time, but I didn't waste any yarn, so that's good. And now it fits. They're still, you know, roomy, but they close basically at my wrists. So that, you know, close around my wrists, let's say that. So, and it is perfect. It's the perfect length. It's the perfect, you know, everything. So, yeah, I'm thinking about making, another Fair Isle garment soon-ish, maybe this winter. I don't really have a huge desire to cast on a Fair Isle garment because I like to knit them, but I have a really long list of things that I want to knit, and I've done Fair Isle a bunch, and I'm like, I feel like it's time to branch out. I really would like to make a cabled sweater this winter. I'll probably talk a bunch about my winter knitting plans on this episode, but yeah, so once I kind of get through the holiday knitting I have planned, which if you want to know about all that, you can watch last week's episode if you haven't already. At that point, I'm gonna do like Christmas Eve cast-ons. So I haven't really decided. I definitely want to make the Attune shawl by Andrea Mowry, which is brioche, and I did sit down a few nights ago and just do some brioche work, and it totally is fine. It's no problems. 2-color tubular cast on, that was a good time. You know, it's not too hard, just kind of long tail it and do some fancy stuff with that. But yeah, it was a good time. I figured it out. I don't like that there's like at the end of the round you have to like, there's like one, and if you've wrapped it, it can get like loose. I don't like that, but that's fine. I feel like I haven't totally figured myself out with the wraps when you get to the end of the round, but I guess the solution is just never stop. So anyway, just do your entire brioche section. Anyway, the Attune shawl is knit flat, so there would be an issue, but maybe not as many. I think there's also an edging, like there might be like an I-cord edge. I don't know, I gotta knit it, maybe there's not. Stephen West always has like edges like with I-cord on his shawls and blankets and stuff, but I don't know if Andrea Mowry does that. But anyway, I will be attempting that. I've got a bunch of hand spun, which I showed a couple weeks ago. I have like a white and light brown marled, and then I have a variety of colors kind of all around pink and a little bit of like murky rainbow stuff, and I'm just gonna use the skeins one at a time, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be, and I'm very excited. So that'll be fun. But I might cast on, I don't have to knit a sweater for Jordan. I'm knitting a sweater for Jordan for her birthday, but that's the 22nd of December. So it's not gonna be done for her birthday because I want it to be a surprise. So I'm gonna knit it at home. She's like enough of a nomad that I could probably work on it a bunch here, but I have to do all this other Christmas knitting. So maybe I'll start it if I finish all this in like the next 3 weeks, but 4 weeks. I'm going home to Vermont on December 18th, which is 4 weeks from tomorrow. Yeah, 4 weeks from tomorrow. So I have to go home. I'm going home on a flight. I'm just flying to Reagan. I'm like over it with the whole train. It takes 13 hours and I'm like, this is terrible, absolute trash. So I'm just gonna fly from Reagan, and it's not that much more expensive. It's like less than $100 more expensive to fly from Reagan round trip, because I'm going home for like 3 weeks, so I'm not flying close enough to Christmas that it's really expensive, which is a huge blessing of my job. It's finals when I'm flying home, but I can do work remotely. So, Fair Isle. I have a Fair Isle hat that I'm going to talk about. I was talking about it a little bit on the Woolly Thistle Shopcast, so if you don't watch the Woolly Thistle Shopcast, you should. They are great. I will link their YouTube channel in the description box. That's how most people find me, so I assume that most people are aware. You can get Jumper Weight and Jumper Weight Supreme at the Woolly Thistle. You can even get grab bags right now during our Black Friday event. And coincidentally, this is a true coincidence, my Fair Isle hat right now is in my Woolly Thistle tote bag from the sock bag this summer, which I love. And one of my sock projects is in the Woolly Thistle sock yarn from this year, which is very exciting. So I've been working on socks. I'll talk about that in a bit. So this is my one hat that I've got on the needles right now. And I think that the colors are wild, but they're kind of fun. I don't think it matters for a hat as much, like, you know, if it's too wild. So if you saw last week's, I showed that Shetland hat that was like gray with all the blues and like the bright pink. So that is something that I have considered in terms of a vest. Like I've been trying to find the right combination for a Fair Isle vest with blues and like purples and pinks, like teals mostly, and for my friend Erin. And I think that I might have come closer to the right combination for a vest. So I like that like really bright teal. And I think I would like the kind of medium bright teal. And I think I would use that as like the middle or maybe even the brightest teal. I think I might do like a blue lozenge, like a teal, like a darker and lighter teal lozenge, and then do like dark purple for like the smaller bands. So when I do a banded design, I often do something like this, which is like two different bands going together. So you've got, let's just be a little closer. So we've got this one, which is it's a bigger one. It's like 9 rows tall and wide. Well, no, it's not. It's the horizontal repeat is not 9. It's 9 rows tall. So it's, I think, yeah, 3, 3, and 3. And the background color changes in the middle, and so does the foreground. And then this one's just 5. So this one is the smaller one, and then there's some negative space with the just the background color around it, and then there's the little plus, half pluses, half crosses that kind of point into it, just to kind of even out the two bands in terms of width, like this, you know, width this way. Sometimes though, I prefer to do, and I have a vest, I should wear it sometime. It's a Jameson Smith jumper weight, or no, it's a Heritage. So the worsted spun Shetland wool from Jameson Smith. I have a Heritage vest where it's like a big lozenge at OXO, and then like a small, like a Peary, like this. So on the hat here, there's a Peary down here in this purple, and then this is the lozenge with the OXO with a lozenge as a O, which is much bigger, and then I'm gonna go back to a Peary. This is maybe too stark of a difference in sizes. Like I would maybe do like a slightly bigger Peary. Wouldn't be a Peary anymore, but it would be like 7 rows tall. And I would do that in like different colors slightly. Like if I did the lozenge or OXO in like a blues and teals, I would do the smaller bands in like purples or 1 or 2 purple colors. And sometimes in my vest, I changed the background and foreground colors every time, but that was very obvious. So I don't know if I would do that. And I don't know if I would change the background color at all for this vest. It might just like do it against one background, the light gray, because I have cones. And so it's like, well, I just have like huge amounts of this. And then I also have a white cone, and I would love to make like this style of sweater, maybe a V-neck, but this style, maybe a little bit more fitted, with a white background using just blues. And I might even do like white and then also some like very light blues as the background to just kind of shift it, and then use darker blues with like gray blues, maybe a couple of brights, because my brother got me a bunch of blues a couple of years ago, like 3 different types of blue, like 2 balls each, and Jamesons of Shetland. And my grandparents also got me like 4 balls of like Fjord and Jamesons of Shetland or something. All in the same year, of course, when I was like starting to like really collect. It was 2 years ago. And I've always wanted to make myself a big piece with like white and the blues, because blue is my best color, because my eyes are blue. So that maybe someday coming down the pike. But yeah, I have so many things that I want to knit that it's just like, that are kind of new, and I really want to use my hand spun more and stuff like that. So I need to kind of, you know, sit down and like make a list of all the things that I want to knit, and then, you know, whenever I am ready to start a new project, I can kind of go to that list and say, what is the thing that I want to knit most right now? And I can change my mind with the yarns that I have, which is a beautiful thing. And I've done that a lot. Like I've made plans, you know, when I buy yarn, sometimes I have plans for it, and then sometimes those plans change, and that's fine. Who cares? But yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, I have so many things that I want to knit. I grabbed, like last Friday, I grabbed a couple of skeins of this Norwegian yarn that I got in London. They're like a really deep indigo and a lighter kind of smoky blue, because they only had 2 skeins of the deep indigo, and then they had the smoky blue that went with it. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll make something striped. And I like already have a plan for like a really plain crew neck striped jumper that's just like has a texture pattern of like, you know, knit 1 round and then knit 1, purl 1 the next round, like the offset kind of rib. And I might even like offset the knits and purls in every other round. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, I have that plan, and I really like that idea. But I haven't even swatched for it. I'm like, maybe I'll do this for a Christmas Eve cast. I'm just gonna cast on like 3 things for Christmas Eve. YOLO. Then I have to bring home a lot of yarn, and I don't necessarily want to do that, because I have a lot of stuff to bring back with me here. If I bring a lot of gifts home, then I have a lot of like room in my suitcase though, then it's not so bad. But I guess I can ship stuff. I have to bring my skis back, which is like a whole thing. So I'm just gonna like pay for an extra bag on the flight because I have an American credit card and I fly on American when I go home through Reagan. So I already have a free checked bag. So I might just like get a ski bag and just bring my skis separately and then carry on my boots and not bring a duffel bag or anything, just not bring a carry-on, and then just get my boots and helmet bag and bring that as my carry-on when I come back here. But my friends all want to go skiing apparently here. And I'm like, okay, like it's gonna be trash snow because this is like Maryland, but I want to go because I love skiing and I have my own skis. So I'm not gonna like pay to rent bad skis. My skis are not amazing, but they're like, for me, they're exactly what I want. The boots fit me and they're comfortable and they pop out when they're supposed to. My skis are pink and I just love them. I've had them since like 10th grade and those are my skis and I have them and I'm not gonna pay to rent crap ones. So I probably could have my mom's skis if I wanted to, or her boots because she doesn't ski anymore, but her boots are too tight for me, like around the leg. We have the same size foot, but every time I wear them, like, cause I've used her skis before because she has boot heaters, which I love, but I don't really need them here because it's not cold enough. But I've like used her skis before and her boots, and I don't love how tight they are, like around my ankle. What I really like is her, she has like a shell that's like a white spider, like just like fleece shell. It's like a ski coat and it's really aerodynamic, and I like to ski really fast and dangerously, which is not great. I probably can't do that here because there will be A, too many people, and B, not high enough mountains, and C, not enough snow. So that's a Vermont treat to ski really fast on days when no one else is on the mountain and there's a ton of snow. So I'm trying to pressure my brother. No, Ian is pressuring himself into going and doing his graduate work in like Colorado or Utah or like somewhere in the West. And I think he wants to go to Boulder for an electrical engineering master's program. So I'm like, yes, please go there so we can ski in the West. Oh my gosh. Ah. So we'll see. Hopefully he does. I have talked about knitting in the last 22 minutes, which is how long I've been talking. I was like, oh, it's gonna be such a short episode. And then I was like, what am I talking about? That's never happened. So I think this is a crazy color combination, but I like it. It's FC9 is this one. Again, you can watch the Woolly Thistle Shopcast where I detail all of this. Two-ply jumper weight FC29, Jameson Smith, then Jameson Smith two-ply jumper weight FC21. And then I've got that blue is Jameson's of Shetland and Lomond, and then the orangey one is Jameson's of Shetland and Sunset, and then this green is FC82. And then the white is, I think, Beat Chez Bouche Le Petit Lamb's wool. So, like I said on the Shopcast, you can use things that don't necessarily match even Engage super well for these kinds of things, but yeah, I don't know. I went on like a total roll with the Fair Isle hats for like 3 or 4 days, and then I just stopped. So I might come back to this morning because I've been trying to pressure myself to get a bunch of socks done, and I still want to get them done, but I also want to give myself some time for Fair Isle if I want that. So, you know. Okay, let me show you my socks. So this is my bag of fur socks. This bag is beautiful. My friend, my Auntie Carrie's friend, Hillary, lives in the Cayman Islands, and she thatches the plant stuff, palm, whatever this is. She thatches it herself, which is really cool. It is sort of coming apart on the handles now, but it's a couple of years old. Yeah, she makes these herself, handmade in Cayman. It's a really cool bag. I really like it. In our house, we make a lot of jokes about upside down pineapples. If you know what that means, then you know what it means, and I don't have to explain it. It's not a super appropriate joke to make, so. But Jordan always laughs at this bag because it has some upside down pineapples on it. So that's funny. But anyway, all my sock stuff is in here right now, and a bunch of my handspun, which I will show you. Let's just hide that for now and put it over here. Because I'll show this at the end in case anyone wants to just like go away and not talk about spinning. So in the bag And I have some sunglasses in here too. Okay, well, let's continue over here. All right, so this one I think I showed maybe, yeah, a couple weeks ago, because I was like, oh, if anyone wants to test knit this, you can contact me. And some people did, and I have sent this out to testers. So this is my Anne Elliot sock. It's gonna come out on around June 15th next year if you are interested in knitting it, but you don't want to test knit. If you want to test knit, you can fill out my form. It's in the show notes. Or send me an email, actually. Send me an email to barnabyknits@gmail.com, and I'll put you on the list, and then I'll also send you the test, whatever. But these are seersucker socks, sock pattern. And all of my socks, if you are unfamiliar, are named after Jane Austen characters. So this is my, these are my Anne Elliot socks. Anne Elliot is the main character, and Jane Austen's Persuasion, which is a very good book. It's kind of short. And I actually liked the Dakota Johnson Persuasion. I think she's funny. I didn't think it was like, I mean, I feel like I'm used to having like those Jane Austen movies and stuff be like total period pieces. And this one was like really modern, and it was kind of like Fleabag, which I didn't dislike, I have to say. Like, it was kind of weird, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. So I feel like it's like a characteristic of me, is that like, I am like somebody who knows a lot of stuff about things. And some of my friends tend to get like pedantic about like pop history and that kind of thing, but I like it. I like historical fiction. I like pop history. That's why I love The Crown. It's like, maybe none of this is real. I mean, the historical events in The Crown are real, but everything else is fiction, but it's fun. I like it. So anyway, I like Dakota Johnson's Persuasion. I thought it was funny. I didn't think it was great as an adaptation of Persuasion, but I thought it was a funny movie. And I like historical fiction, and I love when in historical movies or like period pieces, characters talk like they're from today, because, you know, we have this idea that historical people talked differently, and they did some talk, you know, there were different language conventions then, but in the end, they still like yelled at each other and like cussed and like just like were casual with each other like we are today. And I just think it's really funny when they do that in historical pieces. And I think like some things like the 1995 Pride and Prejudice, I think they do that in a really classy way. Like they still show like Lizzie and Jane like having these little moments together like as sisters, and like being funny and like making fun of their other sisters and whatever, and using kind of like historical language conventions and that kind of thing. I like that. I think that's really classy, but I think it's funny when they make them really modern. I just think it's funny. I can appreciate all of it. I've just decided to let things not make me so angry. So anyway, Anne Elliot socks with, oh, I didn't even say this, Rosa Pomar Mondim in this beautiful variegated colorway called 214 that I got from my Woolly Thistle sock bag. I'm gonna be knitting all of the socks with this sock bag yarn in my own patterns. I'm very excited. So I still have a few coming up. Obviously, this is my second pair. Excuse me. Of sock bag socks. And these socks will be available in next June. And I love this sock. I just love it. I really wanted to do this pattern in a variegated because I did this sock in two tonals. One is kind of a slightly variegated tonal with like speckles, but most of it is just like, most of it's tonal, and the other one was tonal. So I figured let's do something fun. And I'm gonna make a DK version. Let me show you what I'm gonna do. This is my second sock. I'm trying to have these done before I go to Toronto, but I'm not, if that's fine. If they're not done, I can just bring this to Toronto with me with my other sock yarns, and that's fine. So I'm gonna make this sock again, I think for my dad for Christmas, with this green yarn. I'm gonna make holding with white. So, and then something, I guess something else for the heels and toes, and maybe a brown. I was thinking about this because it actually goes really well together, but I don't think my dad's super into this. He would think that was weird. I mean, he would probably wear them because it would just be, there should be slipper socks, but I did dye this green. So I love this color and I love this base. This is the base I used to get from Dyer Supplier, which is not like a normal sock base. Normally a sock base is either 80-20, which is a 2-ply, or a 75-25, which is a 4-ply and has more yardage. This is an 80-20 base, but it's 4 plies and it's really soft in the hand. And I have like probably 5 or 10 skeins of this base that I've dyed in my sock yarn collection. And every time I knit one, I'm just like, this is so delightful. Like, I don't know if it's less strong or stronger than the other yarn, but it's just really soft in the hand and it's got really nice stitch definition because it's got 4 plies and it's just so soft. So I'm gonna hold this with white and make the seersucker pattern kind of marled. I think it'll look really good. It'll look cool. I thought about just holding it with like another dark kind of like blue or green or something and doing like a low contrast marl, but I think it'll just be like camp socks, whatever. So I have to photograph my dad wearing them for the pattern, but that's fine. He'll be a good sport about that. Or my brother can wear them and I'll photograph that. So yeah, that was fun. I'm excited. I'm gonna cast these ones on when I'm done the current DK socks on my needles. That's what I should do this morning, is finish those off, because I meant to finish those last weekend and then I like almost finished them. I'm like halfway done the foot, as you probably saw last like Monday or whenever I recorded, and I just never finished them. So I gotta do that, and then I gotta finish this, and then one other pair of socks that I'm gonna show you. I don't know if I've showed these before. These are my Eleanor Dashwood socks, which are gonna come out next October. I have a version of this in like a beautiful light blue Quince & Co. like Turn, which is a silk and wool blend. Oh, that shows up really well in that light. But this is a red that I did dye myself. I call it Bonfire Night. It's like mostly red, but there's some white streaks. It's a little tonal, and it has a butterfly lace pattern on it. And these are my Eleanor Dashwood socks. She's one of the main characters, probably the the main character in Sense and Sensibility. She and her sister Marianne. If you want to watch one of the greatest movies ever. I don't like Sense and Sensibility as a book, but this movie from 98, 95? The Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet movie. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So this is kind of like my Emma Woodhouse pattern, and then there's just like a lace panel on the front and it's plain on the back. But this lace panel is just more complicated. So it's got a 14-row lace repeat and it's a lot more complex. And it has the same kind of thing with Emma. It has a little detail down the side. This is just a mock cable over 2 stitches. And it's actually really hard to see that in the tonal yarn. But it's just a little texture bump there. But the butterfly lace is so nice. And you can see it really well. And I actually was planning on using this color for Marianne Dashwood, but then I just changed my mind and I was like, Eleanor's the one who's got a lot going on inside. She's got this fiery red inside emotions bubbling about that guy and all this stuff. And she's the one whose perspective you see for most of the book. So I did like a light blue, and then I'm gonna do another one of, well, you know, a couple more. She's gonna be also like a coppery pink, I think, and I'm gonna do some kind of other, probably blue, or like maybe I might use the Drover. No, I think I'm gonna use the Drover for Mrs. Bennet. I don't know, I haven't decided. But I've got to do something that makes the lace pop. So 2-ply yarn is really good for lace because it kind of pops it more. But anyway, the second one is 1 repeat away from the heel. This takes focus, so I really have to be like sitting down, and I really try to stop like at the end of the repeat so that I can know where I am, because it's like a complicated lace. It's worth it. It looks so pretty. But I really try to do a variety of stuff with my patterns, like complicated stuff to simple. I don't really like cabling socks because the cable needle would be so small, and I can cable without a cable needle, but I don't really want to do that for socks because like the stitches are so small, and it just gives me the willies. But my socks kind of go from the very simple to the very complex, and at least in lace, and I kind of really like the variety that I try to give. So my Mrs. Bennett socks for my September socks, those are the ones that just like fell out of my bag and got lost. This is the second time that's happened to me in my life in like the last few years. It's the second pair of socks that's just fallen out of my bag and gotten lost. Makes me sad, but it wasn't a needle that I loved because it was a 40-inch needle and I like the 32-inch Chiogo needles a lot better. So it wasn't too torn up. I've got lots of sock yarn and I'm gonna redo the Mrs. Bennett socks in the vintage tinsel from West Yorkshire Spinners, which is last year's Christmas colorway. And that is fun. That's a beautiful color. Just love it. So I haven't decided if I'm gonna do it DK. I was gonna get the Bear Paw socks, Andrea Mowry's new Bear Paw socks in this yarn, and then I was like, nah, I actually have a skein of Bear Paw sock yarn from when I was in the Farmer's Daughters Fibers sock club, and it's a beautiful deep blue, and I love it. And I think I might hold that double with white to make the Bear Paw socks and just not do it right now. I'll do it some other time. But I want to make socks for my mom for Christmas, and I think that she's not like Mrs. Bennett at all. She's very cool and not crazy. But I think she would appreciate it. My dad would appreciate it actually if I knit him Mrs. Bennett socks, I think. Maybe I will with the green and the white. It would look good if I made them the same socks that were like totally different. My dad would think that was really funny if I made him Mrs. Bennett socks. Maybe I'll just make him multiple pairs, not this Christmas, but I'll give him all his favorite characters. He loves Jane Austen. Both my parents love Jane Austen. I mean, obviously they have named their kid after Jane Austen novel. So I just love that. I'm just doing this so you guys can see the sparkle in this. And this, I don't know if you know this, but the sparkle is like not sharp or hard at all. It's, who was saying that? Monica, I think, said this yesterday. She said it's more like a halo than like embedded into the yarn. And I was like, yeah, that's right. And we were having this long conversation yesterday about like halos and mohair yarn. And she has a Knitting for Olive mohair that she just made a sweater in. And then she had like an Ella Rae mohair, which is like a more typical mohair silk. They're both mohair silk, like same content, but the halos were really different. Like one of them was like, just seemed like a bigger halo, and one of them was like a tighter kind of halo. Like the white one was like a tighter halo. It was really interesting. So she's on a mohair kick right now because she's working on another mohair sweater with a pink mohair, like a tonal, like kind of medium berry pink, gorgeous. I don't know, she gets a lot of stuff like randomly on eBay and like doesn't really know where it comes from and just gets like sweater quantities, and she just has it's an amazing way to collect yarn. Like we're very different, but we both have these, like we have about the same amount of yarn. If you looked at our stashes, I think it's pretty comparable. I just knit mine faster, so because she's more busy, but she gets a lot of yarn on eBay, and like sometimes it comes in lots where she's like, I really want those two, and then I got this random thing, and like she'll sometimes just give it to me and be like, here, I don't want this, and you knit faster, so you make something with it, it'll be fun. And so anyway, the pink mohair sweater is being held double with this Devonia color, which is called Pebble Brook, John Arbon Devonia. And Pebble Brook, so we were talking about John Arbon yesterday because I got a bunch of John Arbon tops in the mail for spinning, which I'll talk about in a second. And John Arbon tops are like so interesting and multicolored. I'll probably pause this at some point and just go grab one so you can see when I talk about my spinning. They're so multicolored and gorgeous. And then they come out to be this like beautiful heathered color, and you would never know all those colors went into it. And so Pebble Brook is kind of like a murky, like beigeish brown. And she was like, what colors do you think went into this? And we started just like, oh yeah, pink, there's some pink in it, maybe there's some blue. So then we looked it up, and it's like pink and blue and white all muddled together. And it was like, whoa. So because there's a pink in that, I would never even have necessarily picked out that pink in that Devonia Pebble Brook, but because there is a pink in there, the other pink kind of goes with it super well. And it's like kind of almost like a murky, but like kind of murky undertone of this amazing pink sweater. It's just like marling mohair and wool has been a big thing for me for a long time. Monica's like going through this big, like, let me knit all the wool and mohair. And like she swatches with like so many different colors to just like see like what things look like when you schmarl stuff, and it's so cool. So I think that's been really, she's been having a good time with that. So Okay, it's time to talk about spinning. Let me just pause this and go get some of the John Arbon tops. Okay, so it's been a good week for spinning. I've done a lot more spinning than I meant to because I meant to do a lot of knitting. And then some tops showed up from John Arbon, which was very exciting. But let's talk about, so last week I showed you like a thing of just like yarn that was just like in a bag, and it was like a bunch of colors that I was gonna spin together. So I spun that together. It's got some murky greens, it's got some blues, it's got some sage greens. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this guy. This is a nice skein. It's like Sport DK, not too overspun. Big fan. I just love this. I love it. And I'm getting together a bunch of hand spun to get to my mom for Christmas, so this might be one of them. Yeah, this is just, I might make some socks, I don't know. I would love to make socks with my hand spun. So this is another one I made. This was one braid. This was a Cheviot braid. Maybe I showed it last week, I can't remember. And it's like, it was light blue with these like, just like splashes of red all over it. And so there's a couple of like chunks of red. And then sometimes it just like turns up kind of pink because it was like a vague ends of the red. So I just basically weighed it in 2 halves and then spun it. And this happened twice this week. I think my scale might just be trash. The singles came out like clearly like there was more weight by weight on one because the bobbin was more full. Because if you just spun the singles to a slightly different gauge, the bobbin wouldn't change that much. Like the bobbin would still look like it was the same amount of full because the same amount of yarn would be on the bobbin. It would just be different weights of yarn, but the same weight of wool, like literal weight. Like when I say yarn weight, I mean like DK, Sport, whatever. But the actual weight of the bobbin would be the same. But for this and this other one that I'm going to show you in a second from John Arbon, I don't think that was true because, yeah, just like too much was left. And I was like, this is weird. Anyway, so like 20 grams was left on one bobbin of this. And this was like 100 grams of wool. And I just chain plied it. I don't have it. I took it to my office. It was my first chain ply attempt. And I always take like different like little mini skeins to my office to show my students like, I'm getting really much better at this. And it's like, you should set goals and practice. So anyway, that's fun. And then this one, this was 2 different like painted pieces of roving or top or whatever from Rhinebeck. And one was like orange and neon green, and the other was like teal and neon green. And so it came out a little crazy, but you know, Spin Cycle also is crazy. So I think it's fun and interesting and fine. And it's like 40 grams. So that's like enough for like a weird yoke if you wanted to like be crazy or like whatever, you know, line pockets with this. It doesn't matter. I don't know. It's just a fun, crazy skein. I really like it. I don't know what to do with it. Hat and brioche. I don't know. Honestly, like that's the thing about brioche is that you can like offset everything with white or like a neutral color so that it looks like less crazy, which is kind of fun. It also makes your yarn go a longer way. So that's fun. Or color work. I don't know. A cool hat or something. It's just kind of like wild, but I think it's fun. It doesn't not work together. It's just like a little wild. Wilder than I would have like I would never have put all those colors together from like pieces of roving that I just like dye. But yeah, I had a few singles of that left that I applied with this John Arbon dark teal, which you can see here, called Viola or Viola Merino. So let's see that first. This is 100% merino and Viola or Viola. I mean, I would say Viola because I played the viola, or I did. I don't really anymore. My brother is still pretty good though. It's named after Emily Viola / Viola, who apparently created all these colors. She's Canadian. She has a dye company. I don't know what it's called, but I'll link it in the show notes because they featured it in Lina once, like in one of the issues of Lina. So this is from a it's a 115 gram top because I weighed it and it was not 4 ounces. It was not 100 grams. It was 4 ounces, which is more than 100 grams. It's like 113 grams. Once again, I had more and I could visually see there was more on one bobbin. I should have just stopped and gone back to the other bobbin and just like continued with that. But I didn't. I just plied it with this, and then I still have a little left, and I'll ply it with the next thing I have a little too much of. That's why it's nice to have 4 bobbins and never make 3 plies. I need to get more bobbins, but they're really expensive. The shacked bobbins are not cheap, so I have to save up. But yeah, these are fun and cool. So I ordered myself like 14 John Arbon tops, just like a ton of them. I did, and they are so beautiful, and they're very inexpensive. So this is a thing in England. Apparently wool top is a lot less expensive. Like here, if you buy like a 4-ounce braid of like dyed fiber, it's like $20 or $25. It's a lot. There, I mean, these are dyed tops. They're not like hand dyed braids or anything, but they're basically dyed braids. They're just combed, they're carded. I mean, I would not think there was any huge difference, except that they make them on big machine equipment. It's all dyed in the wool. Like, anyway, so the top from John Arbon is like £6.50 or something for like I mean, as long as the 100% wool. The alpaca Supreme and stuff might be a little bit more, but like £6.50 or less. And then it's like 3 times more than that to buy a skein. It's like, you know, 19 pounds or something. So it's about 1/3 the price of a skein. And here, you know, a top might be half the price of a skein, or like not even that much less. I mean, if you buy wool and fiber by the pound, you get a good deal, but like, yeah, so it was cheap. So I got a bunch of it, and they have they had a COVID like discount for shipping that they've kept. So it's like 14 pounds for like up to 2 kilograms of stuff. So I just got 14 wool tops and shipping, and it cost, with the exchange rate, like $100 USD. So if you want incredible tops for spinning that are not expensive and from John Arbon, you can order them from John Arbon. They do international shipping for like this much. However, customs opened it and lost 4 tops because 4 of them were missing. And I was like, oh my gosh, where are these? And I like was really sad. And then I emailed the John Arbon people, and I was like, I don't know if like these are coming in a separate package or like what, but like these 4 missing. And do you have any idea like what I can do? I assume they got opened, and the people were like, yeah, did it look like it had been opened? And you know, by weight, it looks like, you know, we sent all the tops out, and I looked at the weight on the package, and I was like, yeah, it was like 1,600 grams. And I was like, or 1.6 kilograms. And I was like, yeah, this is the correct weight, because it would say like 1.1 kilogram if 4 of them weren't in it. And then there was like clear tape that was clearly not like the brown tape that they had used to seal it. And they were super nice, and they just were like, we're just replacing these. And they were like out of one because it was a special, and they were like, do you want like the yarn version? I was like, nah, just send me a different top in the same kind of greenish color. That's fine. But it was so nice of them. They are really, really, I mean, they're a wonderful business, and I would not even have minded if they'd been like, we can't do anything about this, but like they obviously didn't, because they're super nice. And I had a really good time spinning this merino. So I'm going to show you some of the blends. So the first one I'm going to show you is a Harvest Hues top. So you can get any of their yarns as tops. It's like amazing. So this is 65% Falkland Merino, organic from Falklands, and then 35% Devon Swartbloods and the colorway Blue Spruce. Blue Spruce. And it looks like this. So you can see the like streaks of the Swartbloods yarn. It's just like the brownish color here. And then it's mostly just this beautiful turquoise merino. And it's very squishy. And it's an entire 4-ounce bump. And this costs £6.50, which is insane. They also have a mill membership where you get some tops and like the annual and like a couple of other little cute things. And you get like 10% off everything forever. And you get like special access to special stuff. So next time I order, I'm gonna get a mill membership, because you also get like 200 grams of top, and it's like 40 pounds or something. So I wanted to show you something I knitted with Harvest Hues, which you may have seen before if you've been following me for a while. This is my Hansel Hap by Gudrun Johnston that I knitted for the Woolly Thistles Hap Cal, although I did not finish it in time for the Hap Cal to be over. And all of this yarn was milled at John Arbon. The red is the Harvest Hues and Pomegranate. So it's a red with the Swartbloods I want to hold this up close, but it's going to blow out, so it's going to look kind of orangey. So you kind of have to look at it from back here. And then the lighter brown is the just the Exmoor Sport Blaze yarn, which is undyed, and it is the lightest color. And then the brown is Daughter of a Shepherd Heritage, which is from Daughter of a Shepherd, but it's milled at John Arbon. They spun it. It has this beautiful scalloped edge. This used just over 1 skein of the Pomegranate Harvest Hues. I got this when I was in England in March. I sent a bunch of stuff to Catherine's house. Catherine's my host mom. Catherine, my host mom, and one of the most important people in England, the world of English church music. First female president of Cathedral Organist Association, etc. She has a lot more accolades than that, but I'm like, yeah, Catherine, my host mom. Yeah, who's also extremely important. And a fun lady. Anyway, she loved this, all these natural yarns, and I have so much left. I might make like a shawl. Like there's a really nice shawl that somebody designed actually for John Arbon's. I think they designed it for Harvest Hues, and it's like striped and it's kind of funky. And I have enough left over of all these 3 colors that I could totally make it. And I might make it and send it to her, because as a thank you for letting me have all this yarn shipped to her house. Okay, let's do Appledore next, because I have a skein of Appledore that I can show you. So this is the Appledore top in the colorway Yeovil Sour. So all the Appledore yarns are named after, colorways are actually named after apples. So this is 40% Devon Close Wool, 40% Romney, 20% Exmoor Blueface. It's a little hardier than some of their other yarns, but look how cool that is. It's like all these colors. And this is not the colorway Yeovil Sour that I'm gonna show you. This is the colorway Tom Putt, which is the slightly darker blue. But you can see like all these come together combed like that. And then they spin into a cohesive yarn like this. And again, this is Tom Putt. But you can see that heathering, like all those colors in there come out to look like a murky teal. So I'm excited to see what happens with this one. I mean, you can go to the website and like look at the yarns to see, but sometimes I don't, because I like to be surprised. This one, I'm not sure if it's gonna spin for me as easily because it's a blend. And I know that when you have a blend, some of the fibers are longer than others. And so sometimes you just end up with like a handful of fluff because those fibers aren't as short. So you can spin it from the fold. I know that sometimes helps people, so I might do that. But we'll just see what happens. I'm getting pretty good at spinning. I practice a lot. So this might be the next one that I spin, because I'm really into this one. This was the only Appledore top that I got, but I was pretty excited to see, but because I have Appledore. And if you get the selection box from Woolly Thistle this year, you get Appledore in there. They have Appledore lace now too from John Arbon, but it's more like a heavy lace. It's like a light fingering weight, heavy lace weight. If I really like, I'm knitting a sweater out of, or I will be knitting a sweater out of this. I have this, 2 of this, and then 2 of the like lightest blue, which is called Sheep's Nose. So this is Tom Putt, and then I have 2 of Sheep's Nose. And I'm gonna make like a striped, like a sailor striped sweater with it. And I might do the shoulders in like, cause the pattern I'm gonna make is called Ship Shape by Heidi something, Kermacher, I feel like, her last name. I'll link it. And you can do the shoulders in like 2 shoulder triangles in like a contrast color. And I thought about doing it in like a dark pink, cause I have some Exmoor sock and like a dark pink. I have some Exmoor sock and like a lighter blue too that would go, but actually I might spin some hand spun to do for like this and like maybe the cuffs. We'll see. That might be kind of cute. I'm trying to talk fast because this is going to be my longest video ever. This is Black Gold of the Sun and Yarnadelic, which is all Corriedale from the Falklands. You can get Yarnadelic at the Woolly Thistle. And look at that. Look at all those colors, and they go into basically be black with a kind of shiny gold black. There's like neon green in there. Oh my gosh. This is not, I'm not showing you all the tops. I just grabbed 5 and I was like, these will be good. So there's Black Gold of the Sun. So cannot wait to spin that. This one was a special called Mrs. Slimer for Halloween. And this is a blend of a bunch of stuff. You got Corriedale, Merino, Close Wool. It's from Devon, Romney, and Exmoor Blueface in various quantities. And you can see that there. And this is what it looks like. Mrs. Slimer. So yellows, greens. I don't know what this is gonna look like because they didn't have a yarn, they just had tops, which is kind of cool. I like that. I think it's gonna be kind of like a neon-y green. It's gonna be so cool. I can't wait. And I'm thinking about like combining some of these and like using just some of these in like random barber pole yarns that I make for myself with all the dyed fiber that I already have. But we're gonna see what happens. And then I got this Devonia top, Amber Blaze, which is 50% Exmoor Blueface, 30% BFL, and 20% Wensleydale. So long wools. Looks like this. You can also get Devonia from the Woolly Thistle. So this one I think is gonna be for my mom for Christmas because she loves Devonia and she loves orange. So I might spin this for her for Christmas. Yeah, this is really squishy. I forgot to turn my notifications off this morning and I'm just getting like tons of Instagram things and like texts and I can't read any of them because they're like just coming in as like notifications. So that's fun. I just posted 3 pictures of this yarn from like fluff to then singles and then the finished skein on my Instagram stories, so that I'm assuming people are just responding to that. But yeah, I'm thinking I have like 2 or 3 tealy colors, like this one and then this one, and then there's a third because I think it's Indigo Dust by which is a Yarnadelic colorway. And then there's a 4th one coming, which is the Blue Morpho from Harvest Hues, but they that was one of the ones that got lost, so they're resending that to me, which is so nice of them. They did not have to do that. They had, I mean, because it was not their fault that Customs opened it. But anyway, these ones are like almost exactly the same color, this Appledore. This is a little bit greener. But there's like, and then this is obviously like merino, where there's no merino in this. This is close wool, Blueface, Exmoor Blueface, and Romney. But anyway, yeah. I gotta cast this sweater on. I really want to have the Appledore sweater. I just think that would be like really special. I almost got enough of one color of Appledore to just make that like beautiful cabled cardigan that Sonia she actually owns John Arbin. She had designed that when they brought out Appledore, this beautiful cabled like open cardigan, but I did not. I just thought I like to play with stripes and colors too much, and I don't want to get a single color because I like to play with multiple colors. My mind is so color driven as a knitter that that's why I think I'm gonna really enjoy the brioche stuff, because it's so color driven. It's not stranded color work, but it's driven by the idea of color and color play. So anyway, this might be over an hour. And if you're watching this on Tuesday, I am en route to Toronto, so that's really exciting. Hopefully I will come back with a bunch of finished socks and also maybe some new yarn. I'm gonna try not to get too much, but you know, that never happens. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see all my friends and my family. And in 1 week, next Sunday, it's the first Sunday of Advent. And my friend Monica was like, I can't believe you don't know when Advent 1 is this year. Cause I was like, is it next weekend or is it like 2 weeks from now? And she was like, it's next weekend. And I was like, well, if it's 2 weeks from now and it's like a week after Thanksgiving, I'll go to Philadelphia. But if it's the week after Thanksgiving, I'm gonna be in Toronto, which was my preferred place, because Advent 1 was like the biggest in my first year of college. I think the single most important event in my first year of college was Advent 1, because I had grown up, you know, in the Episcopal Church and like all this stuff, and I've sung this one hymn called Helmsley, which is my favorite Advent, my favorite hymn ever. It's for Advent 1, and it's, I don't know, the tune just, it's great. But I had known this hymn for my whole life because we'd always done it during Advent at church when I was growing up. But my teacher in Toronto, John, he had a different vision of Helmsley in his head than my teacher Mark had when I was growing up, and every organist is different, and they're both really good hymn players. And the person I sung for in Philadelphia, Robert, is like he is the like most famous American hymn player, probably. He's amazing. He also plays a really good Helmsley. Helmsley's that I'm gonna name my first dog. I love the tune so much. I'll link a recording of Helmsley in the show notes so that you guys can hear. I don't want to sing it right now. But anyway, my first year of college, I think it was right after Thanksgiving. Might have been the weekend after that, but I don't know. But my parents had been around and then they left, and I had a couple more weeks that I had to be in Toronto, but I really wanted to go home. Like, I was really homesick. And it was the end of my very first semester of college, and I had just been like emotionally tumultuous and like whatever. I was kind of melodramatic, but it was difficult. And I went to church on Advent 1, and I remember I had like gone to the practice, you know, the rehearsal, and we'd rehearse this, and John had said to me, because he knew I was American, he was like, the rhythms are a little bit different in this version, so pay attention. And he was right. I was like, I had been tripped up by it, and I was like, wow, John just knows me. He does. I gotta email him. He's retired. He's retired. And his assistant Elizabeth, from when I was in college, she now plays there, and she and I are very good friends. And she's like my mom's age. She's the best. I love Elizabeth, and she's gonna play the Helmsley. So Helmsley, just random regular hymn. And John, when John played it, I kind of figured, like, started to like feel something when he's played like most of it, and he was playing it in A flat, which is like up a semitone from where you would play it in America usually. And there was like this extra verse that was like about the second coming, and it was like kind of terrifying. And then for the like last verse, I've probably said this before, but not for a while. A lot of organists, for the last verse of a hymn, they'll play not the regular harmony, they'll play what we call a reharm or a reharmonization. And reharms can be like really saucy and like kind of like crazy, or they can be just like kind of boring. The choir director in Philly, Robert, who's like the most amazing hymn player ever, he's just like an amazing improviser. And so he'll always improvise his own last verses, which is, I mean, amazing. Like that someone can think about that on the spot. His brain just works that way. A lot of organists just have like things that just, yeah, I don't know how their brains do it, but they do it. And John always played, or I guess Elizabeth might have played it, I think John played it, this arrangement by this composer named Martin Howe, who's actually passed away kind of recently, like within the last year or two. English composer, I assume. And the last verse reharm that John played, like, I think he legitimately might have pulled out almost all the stops on the organ. And the hymn is about the second coming, and so it's supposed to be really dramatic, because like Advent is like, that's the idea of Advent, is that you're like preparing for the second coming, like, and within the liturgy, like that's the point. I mean, you know, you're like celebrating the coming of the Messiah, whatever, but like, you know, leading up to Christmas, which is when Jesus was born. But like, if, you know, the idea is that there will be a second coming of the Messiah, that's the like book of Revelation is about. And so that's like this, it's a kind of this liturgical idea that goes hand in hand with like leading up to Christmas, at least for Catholics and for Anglicans for sure. And I'm talking about this as a historian. I hope you are all aware of that. So whatever your beliefs are, I grew up in the church and I love the Episcopal Church. I feel like it really gave me like a moral code. And I am primarily a singer and musician. But I do like the liturgy a lot. But, you know, I try to think about it as objectively as I can. But I do, you know, I definitely consider myself an Episcopalian. But Episcopalians like metaphors and they like ideas, and I always say I prefer just kind of the idea of like living with this important moral code rather than like being caught up in the specifics of Christianity. So all that to say, this last verse reharm of Helmsley was like, I thought the building was going to come down. I mean, the whole place just shook. I don't know if I was shaking or the building was shaking, but it was just like so overwhelming to me. And I kind of like, people are like, you know, what was your, like, have you ever had like a religious experience? I'm like, yeah, that was like, I don't like, yeah, I don't like to like label things like that because God knows, like, I don't know what's out there, anything like that. But that was just the kind of first time I really like got completely blown off my feet and like hit with the idea that like, there's something out there that's bigger than me, whatever that is, it doesn't matter. It just like, oh my gosh. So I'm going to Toronto for Advent 1, and I'm going to get to do Helmsley in Toronto, which is very special to me because I get to see all the people that I used to sing with. And well, John is not going to play Helmsley because he doesn't play anymore at the church, but Elizabeth's going to play Helmsley, and she's going to play that reharmonization because she has good taste. I'm very excited, and the emotions are going to be high, and I can't wait. It's going to be a good time. So yeah, that'll be fun. It'll be really fun. Maybe I'll film an episode with my mom and my Auntie Carrie. Auntie Carrie wants to go to get projects for herself because she goes to the her family's like they have a house in Panorama, which is a ski resort in British Columbia, and she has a house there, so they spend the winter there usually, and so she wants to like hunker down with a bunch of knitting projects, and we are gonna go get her a bunch of stuff and get her patterns, and so maybe we'll talk about that next week sometime, and we'll maybe record an episode. That'd be fun. Then I wouldn't have to record an episode like the day I get back and then post it the next day. This has been like over an hour though, so if you're still with me, thanks. That is amazing. And letting me talk about my insane obsession with this random hymn. So I'm gonna try not to get too into spinning this morning because I really want to spin all this stuff, but maybe I will start spinning and then I will go and finish that Fair Isle hat or something and finish some socks. But yeah, I've got a lot to look at right here and it's a little too exciting. So thank you for watching. This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye!